From the scenes we saw, which was the most complicated for you to direct?
The thing I had the most difficulty with was this first scene between Melchior and Moritz, where Moritz is on the swing and they're talking about the masculine itch. And I had the most difficulty with that because, well, I had difficulty with all the scenes. They're all very complex scenes to rehearse, but that scene in particular was difficult because it was very verbal and there was a limited amount of physicality in the scene. And boys I always find it difficult when there are long speeches and boys are trying to, they tend to get very head heavy as actors, and when if you can physicalize a scene, it's a lot easier because students get much more convincing when they can use their bodies as opposed to simply talk. But this scene, it was an exposition scene. It was basically laying out the issues, Moritz's insecurities, Melchior's slightly more mature attitude, although rather warped as well. Not warped, but certainly quite ruthless. His attitude to human sexuality was quite remorseless, ruthless, and not particularly pleasant. Moritz is far more sensitive, far more confused. And they were quite difficult, complex positions that the characters were taking, which demanded a lot from the two boys, and I found that scene to get the rhythm of the scene. And there was also the scene where there was some homoeroticism creeping in that I wanted to get. But then also the movement of the swing was very, very important. And I had lots and lots of ideas about that that I never really got through. When I was watching it, I felt that scene stopped and started too much. I felt that the rhythm I was looking for in that scene didn't actually function. I could talk about each scene and give you outline problems. For example, the scene between Ilse and Moritz didn't go anywhere for the first 6 weeks until I realised that Ilse, the actress playing Ilse, Nosy, was actually a quintessentially physical actress that didn't respond to language and could only respond physically. And as soon as I unlocked that, and as soon as I realised that, we completely changed our rehearsal technique with Nosy and just discovered what a fantastic physical actress she was. And as soon as she could physicalise the language, she was able to do it. But intellectualising the language is very difficult for her, but to physicalise it, she was extraordinary. And all actors have different keys. They've all got different focal points, they've all got different centres of dynamism. Sandy, who played Melchior, is utterly different as an actor from Moritz. Wendler is speaking her mother tongue is Spanish. She speaks Portuguese fluently. She speaks French, and she speaks English. English would probably, arguably, be either her second or third language. The inflection in her English was basically Spanish. Andalusian, which is even more complicated, and she struggled a little bit with the language. She struggled with the volume of her voice, but little things happened. She had a scene where she had the love scene with Melchior. She had to walk 5 meters across the stage, and she was finding it very difficult to walk these 5 meters across the stage. And then suddenly she did something. On about the third step she took a breath in and raised her body as if she was confronting, she knew she was confronting something that was going to make a fundamental difference to her life. And she did that instinctively. So she walked normally for 2 steps and then raised her body, took a breath. It looked like her whole body was just raising up to, kind of like a snake rising up to meet a challenge. And then she took the next 2 steps quickly. And that absolutely altered the way that kid did that part. Something as simple as that, and I noticed it when she did it. I said immediately, that's fantastic. And I think from that point on, Laura didn't have a problem with that particular scene, which had been a scene which she found the entry more difficult than the scene. All kinds of breakthroughs like that. That's what you get with students. They do things. The only thing you've got to do as a director with students is to have a very clear idea of what you want to do. You've also got to be you've got to learn from them. They teach you 200% more than you teach them. You've just got to watch them all the time. I've never ever rehearsed students ever in any production I've done where I've wasted a single minute, where I felt I've wasted my time and I haven't learned anything. I always walk out of rehearsal having learnt a huge amount from the students. And the more I learn, the more I can give it back. Because basically, I'm not saying this is how you act Wendler. I'm waiting for them to tell me how they're going to act Wendler. And then when I see them doing it, then I see where their energy is coming from, I see what they're trying to communicate, then I can make an intervention which is going to make it. I can direct, I can focus that energy, and I can shape it to a certain extent. But essentially, it's got to come from them. It can't be marked out by me.